Right now we are at the Charleston Battery, and take a look at what we're seeing. The seawall right here is being breached. The winds are coming in. You can see some of the water and the waves coming over that wall, and that is leading to some serious flooding here in this park. There's at least 2 feet of water in this park off of Cannon Point here, but take a look at that. You can clearly see that's the ocean, that's the harbor right behind that seawall there. We were doing some live shots here yesterday morning. That seawall is about 10 feet tall, okay? So that's a pretty big surge to get over this wall. And just take a look. This is supposed to be a boardwalk where everybody's typically running. We got homes right here to the left. This is, home property right on the water here, and this is all a park, okay? A lot of this, especially up ahead, is underwater. There's fire hydrants underwater. The wind's really starting to pick up, and keep in mind, the eye wall of Hurricane Matthew hasn't even got here yet, okay? Wow, look at that wave right there. This water's really starting to make it over there. The winds are starting to push it. There's some more waves coming. So this is the good news is it's a total ghost town out here right now. We haven't seen anybody other than ourselves, which means, folks, they did heed the evacuation orders, and now you can see why. Everybody was being warned. Stay away from the coast. There's going to be a big storm surge, and that's what we're seeing right now, okay? Keep in mind, this could only get worse once that eye wall gets closer. You're seeing that ocean water breaking over the seawall. If it doesn't get to the point where it's just waves breaking it every now and then and it's consistently getting over, we are going to see some major flooding issues here in Charleston. Hey guys, if you can hear me right now, I can barely hear myself. The wind's out here picking up even more. Let's take a look at the reader. We just had a reading of 30. Right now we're at 22, 23. So again, it's starting to pick up from the last time we checked in with you guys. And as you can see, this rain coming straight at us right now. It's starting to get darker out here. The visibility really starting to drop. Take a look at the ocean right now. This is not a good sight, folks. Earlier, we could see the pier in its entirety. Now, Logan, take a look over at the pier. We're starting to kind of lose a little visibility over there. And again, the biggest change we've noticed within the last 20 minutes or so is this wind. Take a look. We gotta kind of have to trench ourselves in the sand right here. And again, we're the only people out on this beach. The wind is blowing the water all across the sand right here. And again, I just want to comment about the visibility, because when we first got down here, we could see the end of that beach down there. Now it's like there's a wall of fog, mist, water. As we mentioned earlier, this is not an area where people are supposed to be hanging out. We are literally the only people on the beach right now. We had to go through a police checkpoint to get here. And again, this storm, the hurricane, it's not even here in Charleston yet, folks. We're here at Folly Beach. The storm's supposed to get here tomorrow in the morning.
Is live in Charleston, South Carolina, where Matthew could make landfall very soon. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, the sun's starting to come up, so we're getting our very first look at the effects of Hurricane Matthew as it comes into the Charleston area. Right now, we are at the Charleston Battery, and let me give you a look at what we're looking at right now. Some big-time flooding in the area. We got at least 2 feet of water on the street alone right here. Take a look at the fire hydrant submerged about halfway right there. The Charleston Battery has a seawall. It borders right on Charleston Harbor. At some point this morning, that seawall was breached. During low tide, the seawall is about 10 feet tall. They were originally expecting a storm surge of 11 feet or so. It didn't turn out to be that high, but as you can see, what you're looking at right here, this is not supposed to be a lake, folks. This is supposed to just be a park near the Charleston Battery. We've seen trees down all over the place, flooding all over the place. There's power out all over the place. When we were staying in our hotel last night, in the middle of the night, I looked out the window and just saw this huge green flash, and then boom, everything went dark. The good news is Charleston is basically a ghost town right now. A lot of people took the evacuation notices. About 300,000 people ended up leaving. Still, officials say that's not enough. You can see the winds really starting to kick up again here. You guys mentioned the eye wall starting to come our way pretty soon. Another fact, the National Weather Service, they put out some information this morning. Fort Sumter is right off the Charleston coast, right off in Charleston Harbor. That's where the Civil War started. They got a surge gauge reading of over 9 feet. That comes in at the third most in the history of Fort Sumter. That's just behind Hurricane Hugo back in 1989. So if you're taking a look right here, you can see sun just starting to come up, but the worst hasn't even gotten here yet. We're still waiting for that eye wall to get here. And if I were to take a step off this curb right here, I really don't even know how deep the water goes here, and I don't really want to find out. So flooding widespread all across the area. Folly Beach, we're hearing power is out completely in that area. That's a very popular tourist spot, one of the most popular beaches in Charleston. Trees down, power lines down, and no power out there whatsoever.
All right, Bill is there right in the heart of it all in Charleston, South Carolina, that area where he's talking about on the Battery, where people go jogging every day in those big, beautiful multi-million-dollar homes that sit right behind over his left shoulder there. Amazing. Thanks, Bill. We appreciate it. Stay safe.
Well, hey there, Barbara. Things actually pretty calm here at Charleston Harbor right now, but when that storm hits later tonight around 8 o'clock and through the early morning hours of Saturday, where I'm standing right now is going to be pretty much the last spot you would ever want to be at. Last estimate, the National Weather Service saying we could see a storm surge of up to 11 feet. Just to put that in perspective for you, we're talking higher than a basketball hoop, okay? Let's take a look right here. This is the seawall at Charleston Harbor. It's low tide right now. We estimate the seawall is about 10 feet tall or so. So you factor in when the tide gets up a little bit more, and if that storm surge turns out to be anywhere near that 11 feet that could possibly be expected, we are talking a nasty situation. That water's going to come over this wall, and look what's right across the street from us right now. These are oceanfront property homes, some of which are boarded up.
All right, thanks, Janice.
Thanks, Janice.
And we want to get to Bill Melugin, who's live in Charleston, South Carolina, along the Battery there, which is a really beautiful part of town where people go jogging along the water and those million-dollar homes that are, looks like they're underwater, Bill.
Yeah, good morning, guys. Obviously not the best time for some jogging right now. The Charleston Harbor directly behind us. The seawall here has officially breached. We've been watching the waves come over the wall, and this flooding that you're looking at right now is a result of that. Let me kind of take a step out of the way so you can see what we're looking at here. This park right here is completely underwater. We haven't gone to see how deep it is, but taking a look at the fire hydrant that's kind of halfway submerged, we're guessing at least a foot, maybe up to 2 feet of water submerging this entire park area right now. Now, we wanted to get up to the railing to kind of show you guys the waves coming up over that seawall, but our first camera broke. The waves, the water, the rain, all too intense. And as you were mentioning, there are some really nice homes up here. There are some million-dollar historical home properties right here, some of which are flooded. The yards are flooded. And the good news here is that this part of Charleston is an absolute ghost town right now. There is nobody, okay? You'll remember Governor Nikki Haley said she wanted at least 1 million folks to evacuate from the area. They only got about 300,000, which they weren't too happy about. They shut down I-26 to all traffic going into Charleston. They wanted everybody going out. And listen to this, the National Weather Service, they gave us some information saying that at Fort Sumter, that's a civil, I'm about to lose my hat here, that's the Civil War, that's where the Civil War first started off in Charleston Harbor. There goes the hat. They got a wind gauge, or they got a storm surge rating of over 9 feet. Okay, that is third highest in history for Fort Sumter. That's right behind Hurricane Hugo back in 1989. So as you can see here, the full wrath of Hurricane Matthew here in Charleston. This park flooded. We've been watching this water come over the wall, and again, we do have to point out, we've seen some folks, they're curious evidently. They've been trying to drive through these floodwaters to get up to the Battery to take a look at the waves. Obviously extremely ill-advised. You've all heard the saying, turn around, don't drown. Thankfully, those drivers did end up turning around, but had this water been a little bit deeper, their cars could have gotten stuck. It could have been a very, very messy situation. So we're going to keep staying reporting live out here in Charleston for you guys, giving you the latest coverage. And again, we heard you guys had a reporter out in Folly Beach. That's obviously getting hit pretty hard as well.
Yeah.
All right, Bill. Go get that hat.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Stay
Bill.
safe
Doing
out
a great
there.
job out there in Charleston. Thanks, Bill.
Beautiful area.
And that's where Bill Melugin is. And Bill, how's it looking down there right now? And also, how was that drive down there?
Well, guys, we often hear the phrase, the calm before the storm. I think this is what people are talking about. Downtown Charleston is a total ghost town right now. We're standing on Meeting Street right now. It's one of the most popular areas. If you've ever been down here before, you know it's got all the high-end restaurants, some of the cool bars. Let me step out of the way. Take a look. Look at this street right now. Totally deserted other than a couple of cars that come through straggling every now and then. Look at all these businesses that have been boarded up with sandbags at the foot of it.
And is in Sullivan Island with more. Hey, Bill.
Well, hey there, Jenna. It's actually turned into quite a nice evening here in Charleston now that Hurricane Matthew has moved on up the coast. Still A little bit windy, but that's all right with us. We've been able to see some blue skies and actually a few patches of sunlight, which is the first time we've seen that in the first few days. But let's talk about the aftermath right here. Right off the bat, I want to let you guys know that the main bridge you see over my shoulder that takes you into Charleston is completely shut down right now. We tried to get on it earlier and we were stopped by a police officer. He said it's going to be shut down for the next 24 to 48 hours because there are questions about that bridge's integrity. It got hit with a lot of strong winds last night and during the early morning hours, and there are some concerns about its integrity. So some state DOT officials are going to be up there manually inspecting it to make sure everything's all right before drivers are let back onto it. Let's talk about damage. Good news on that front. Everything is mostly just aesthetic damage. We're talking some power lines down here and there, some localized flooding, some trees down, tree branches. Nothing too major, a little bit of minor damage to homes. Most of the flooding from what we've been able to see has started to drain away within hours after the storm passed over. You'll keep in mind Governor Nikki Haley wanted everybody evacuated. For the most part, a lot of people followed those orders. In terms of power outages, we're hearing that over 760,000 people are without power, not just here in Charleston, but within the entire state. Now,